The other maidens felt embarrassed and left angrily, but the ceremony didn't stop. The village of Okpara has long been steeped in the age-old traditions and customs that have defined its people for generations. Amongst these customs, none hold as much reverence and fascination as the ritual known as the prizing of the virgin. It is a rite of passage for the village's young women, marking their transition from innocence to womanhood and signaling their availability for marriage. The ceremony is not without its share of controversy, as it often attracts the attention of men from neighboring villages, some of whom sees it as an opportunity to secure a bride at a bargain price. Nneoma, a fair-skinned beauty in her late teens, has been carefully preparing for her turn at the ceremony. Her family has been meticulously selecting the finest fabrics and jewelry to adorn her. A freshly laundered white wrapper and a matching hair tie completed her ensemble, setting her apart from the other girls in the village. As she made her way to the village square, the people of Okpara were already gathered around, eager to witness the prizing of the virgin ceremony. Part of the ceremony was for all the maidens of the day to be tested by some umuada and then confirmed that they were truly virgins. Nneoma had almost missed this phase as she arrived late. She quickly went in and was confirmed to be a virgin. The crowd roared in excitement as the elder of the village announced the selected maidens for the ceremony. Nneoma, along with 5 other maidens, were led to a platform where they were arranged in a line. Nneoma stood out among them, tall and slender, her ebony skin glowing in sunlight, her hair thick and glossy like the night, cascaded down her back in gold, held a wisdom far beyond her tender years. It was no wonder that the men of Okpara spoke of her in hushed tones, whispering of her beauty and purity. News of Nneoma's virginity spread like wildfire through the village, attracting the attention of suitors from far and near. Some were men of means and prestige, while others were little more than common laborers. Each man came to the village with the same desire, to lay claim to Nneoma's virtue and make her his own. It was time for the bidding to start, and the entire village gathered around a bonfire, eagerly awaiting the unveiling of the maidens. As the sun arose higher in the sky, the suitors began to gather around in their numbers, vying for Nneoma's attention. They brought with them gifts of fine fabrics, jewelry, and even livestock, hoping to win her favor. Nneoma was, though flattered by their attention, remained reserved and cautious. She knew that beneath their false smiles and empty promises, these men were only interested in one thing: her virginity. As the elder of the village steps forward, he began to recite the long-held traditions and customs that have defined the moment. He speaks of the virtues of chastity, the importance of finding a good husband, and the role each maiden's virginity will play in securing her family's future. He then invites the various suitors to come forward and place their beads on the maiden's hand in marriage. There was a bit of confusion, surprised faces, and side talks, as all the suitors were lined up in front of Nneoma, and not one man was looking to bid for the other 5 maidens. The other maidens felt embarrassed and left angrily, but the ceremony didn't stop. The first man approaches, a wealthy farmer from a nearby village, and then he offers a substantial amount of cattle and yams as dowry. The crowd murmured in approval, but the elder looks at Nneoma, who was unimpressed. The next man, a young and ambitious hunter from a neighboring village, offers an even greater dowry, hoping to impress Nneoma with his powers and bravery. The crowd watches intently as the bids continue to rise, each man trying to outdo the last. There comes Chief Scarlo, the highest bidder. He is a wise and respected elder from a distant village. His offer dwarfs all others, with a staggering amount of cattle, yams, and even precious golds and beads. The crowd gasps in astonishment, and whispers circulate that the elder has fallen deeply in love with Nneoma despite his advanced age and grey beard. Chief Kalu approaches Nneoma, takes her hand in his and gazes into her eyes, promising her a life of wealth, love and respect. The elder of the village, seeing the increasingly high bids, decides to step in. He raises his hand, signaling for silence, and announces that Nneoma's virginity is priceless, and that no amount of wealth or possession can truly compare. He reminds the men of the village that it is not just about securing a wife, but about finding a partner who shares their values and beliefs. As the crowd murmurs in agreement, another man, an elderly and respected chief from a distant village, approaches the gathering. He does not offer any material possession as dowry, but instead kneels before Nneoma and presents her with a beautifully carved walking stick, symbolizing strength and guidance. The crowd is stunned into silence as the chief explains that he has known Nneoma's family for generations and has long admired their virtue and integrity. He asks for her hand not out of the desire or greed, but out of a deep respect for who she is and what she represents. Tears well up in Nneoma's eyes as she listens to the chief's words. She looks to her parents, who nod their approval, and then turns back to the chief, taking his hands in hers. The entire village holds its breath, waiting to see what will happen next. The elder of the village steps forward and, after a moment of consideration, announces that the chief's bid has been accepted. A collective sigh of relief and happiness washes over the crowd as they realize that Nneoma has found not only a husband, but also a partner who truly understands and cherishes her worth. As the news spread through the village, people gathered around the chief and Nneoma, offering their congratulations and well wishes. Nneoma feels a mixture of joy and fear as she thinks about the night ahead. She knows that she must prove herself to her husband, and that her virginity will be the ultimate test of her purity and worth. The thought of losing it fills her with both anticipation and dread. As they journeyed back to Umuduru village, where the chief is from, Nneoma's heart races with anticipation. At the entrance of the village were women and men dressed in very colorful attire, awaiting to receive her as one of their own. Meanwhile, inside the chief's compound, bodyguards and servants work tirelessly to ensure that everything is prepared for them. A large bed is adorned with colorful blankets and pillow, and a fire burns brightly in the center of the room, driving away any lingering chill. Nneoma and her husband finally retired to bed that night, and were happy to have found each other. Days turned into weeks, months, and finally, this years of happiness and fruitfulness together was blessed with Ikemefuna and Adaobi, their children. They have now grown and have inherited their parents' strength of character and dedication to their community. Ikemefuna has taken to an important role in village leadership, following in his father's footsteps. Adaobi, on the other hand, has become a respected healer and midwife, using her knowledge of traditional medicines to help those in need. The village of Umuduru has continued to prosper till this day. The love story of Nneoma and the chief has become a tale retold around countless firesides and passed down through generations. The price of Nneoma's virginity, once seen as a burden, has instead brought untold blessings to their family and their community.